Thanks for checking back in, guys. You already know.
With
Back again, dude. Octane and fucking Zip.
blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And welcome back to part 2 of the Turbo Crown install kit, whatever you want to call it. We are currently working on putting the head back together. So last night it was dark, it was late, before the rain and weather started coming. We put the head studs in, put the nuts on, and went through and tightened everything. Using assembly lube, we chose to use Lucas just because it's a bit sticky and not watery runny. Cams are back in, so we actually had the cams out, we cleaned them off, and then also used some Lucas assembly lube. So there is assembly lube all over both of the cams. Basically everything inside the head is lubed up. So now that all of the guides for the cam is on, I did put both of these front ones on. They do have silicone on the bottom, so make sure that you put silicone before you put them on, as well as assembly lube on the bolts. But Ty is going through right now, and he is going in this order. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're gonna do one cam at a time. You don't do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. You do one side at a time. And this is to 15 foot-pounds. So we do have the reader, I'm spacing whatever it's called. 15 foot-pounds. We'll go through and get everything tight. Yesterday we had a couple minutes and it was kind of bad weather, so I ended up getting the water pump and stuff back on. The front of the engine is back on. We will go over that in just a second, or I guess I could go over it now. So the tensioner is on, the pulley is on, tensioner down here, pulley up here. New water pump, we ended up getting a whole new one because we couldn't find the front half. I lined up the crank with top dead center as well as the cams with top dead center. If you guys want to know more in depth on getting these exactly how they should be, timing and all of that, like I said, the link down below. I will drop the link that I used. We're not, you know, we're trying to do a how-to, but this isn't like a step-by-step. If so, it would have been 50 different videos. So the reason we are waiting on the turbo side is because this down here on the block is going to have a fitting drilled. So there's going to be one on each side, one hole drill and tapped, as well as through the middle. We're gonna have to bend these automatic transmission fluid lines a little bit out the way, but I think we are gonna either get to that later or tomorrow. Setting up the turbo right now, kind of how it's gonna be set up. So imagine this as the block. This is where we're gonna be putting the oil drain. Found out, you know, fit all the fittings and stuff together. Fits right under the turbo. This is how the turbo is going to be sitting and clocked. Intercooler piping coming straight up. For this side, the oil feed, ended up putting the fittings on there with a 90 on this braided line. This oil feed is going to be tapped off of the, I guess they call this a oil filter spacer. And this oil filter spacer is going to be sat just like that. We have the fitting that goes and takes place of how the actual oil filter is going to be plugged in. So it's actually going to sit like this on the engine. So this is going to take place, basically the female end going onto the engine, through here, tightening on, and then this is going to be just like the male end that is on the engine already. So then the filter will go onto it just like that. We've got 3 fitting ends right here. I chose to use the middle one. We're gonna close up these other 2, probably put some silicone on them because we don't plan on using them, as well as not wanting any other leaks. And checking in here, we have the oil drain. So the middle hole was drilled out and then drilled and tapped for both sides. 3/8 by 16 thread pitch is the bolt and thread that we ended up going with. And I just took the pan off, cleaned everything off, took the baffle out. I did all of that before drilling, by the way, so there was no shavings inside the actual oil pan. Cleaned everything inside out, made sure there was no other shavings, and siliconed and put the pan back on. So there's no gasket, it's just gonna be gasket maker. And of course, you know, go here, across, there, across, and just slowly tighten them up. And then you can go around and, I wouldn't say torque them on, but just make sure they are quite snug. Of course, the gasket and stuff is going to seal it a lot better. We are waiting for the pigtails for the injectors, so we cannot put the intake on, but most of the front of the engine can be put together, as well as the manifold and the turbo, especially to make sure that we have all of the routing correct and everything is going to reach. So still have to put on the sandwich plate that goes where the oil filter is. About to do that now, and then we'll probably end up putting the manifold on with some of the studs, mock up the turbo, make sure that the drain is going to reach, as well as make sure the oil feed can be routed correctly to the sandwich plate, as well as reaching the top of the turbo with no issues. So I'm gonna get to that. Ty he is working for me, so I don't have a cameraman either, or vice versa, be able to film him. So bear with me, but let's start mocking some stuff up and see if we got it right.
Yo, dude.
Yo. Slowly making progress. Figured I'd show you guys what we got going on. So I kind of started to route the wiring harness like it would originally run, which goes through this little crevice right here. As you can see, it fits perfect and then loops around. So I just wanted to get a couple of the plugs that go down there. You have the oil pressure sensor, as well as some other hidden ones. One that goes down to the compressor, the AC compressor, and I believe there's 4 or 5. So there's like a green one right here. There's a very tiny gray one. Let's see if we can see that down there. And then there's another hidden one, I do believe, like right there. I actually took the spark plugs out because these are GE spark plugs. They are gapped to almost 0.04, and that is a lot for a boosted engine. So under 15 pounds, I've done a lot of research, and they were saying that between 0.028 and 0.032 is what they should be gapped to if you're running under 15 pounds. Anything above that is going to be like 0.022 to 0.25, but that's not what we're going to deal with. So just because we are using the stock intake, which goes over all of the spark plugs and is a bit of a hassle, I'm actually going to see if we can return these, since all we did was install them and never actually run them, and then see if we can get some spark plugs for a GTE. Hopefully those will come pre-gapped close to 0.030. That's, I think, what we're going to aim for. If they're under that, perfect, easy to up gap. If they're a little bit over that, we'll see if we can close that gap a little bit. But before the sun goes down, I think I'm going to run. I actually got to hit some AutoZone and O'Reilly anyways, so we'll go get those spark plugs and get my other stuff, and then get back to it, see what we can get done tonight. And we are back for, I think it's like day 4 of the vlog, you feel me? But hope you guys enjoyed the first video. As you can see, we are making some progress. I figured I'd give you guys an update. I kind of been working on it all morning while Ty was at work. He got home, and then we've been diving into it. I actually had to take off some of the front cover stuff. I ended up forgetting one of the washers that goes behind the harmonic balancer. Nothing crazy, it just kind of helps push it off and keeps stuff
Almost blew
in line.
Almost blew shit up, but
we ended up having to splice these pigtails. So these are the new pigtails sent by Victory Racing, I do believe.
Victory Racing.
We didn't get them in the first place, so Andrew got us covered and got them shipped out. So we did that the other day. It was kind of rainy, and well, we weren't really feeling the vlog ski just because it kind of took forever. So
rain. No rain. No rain. No rain. No.
So on the stock wires for the injectors, as you can see, there's a yellow one and then there's a black and white one. As you go down the line, there's a black and white one for every single injector, and then there's a colored one for every single injector. So this one's yellow, I think the next one was red, the next one was blue, but each one had a black and white. So that's how we attached the new injectors. The black and white went to the black and white, and then the blue and black went to the colored one. We did that for every single one. I ended up cutting, splicing, twisting them together, heat wrapping or heat shrinking them so that, you know, they're tight and won't break, and then put them back in this stock little cover and then tape to the end. So that should be all squared away. We ended up having to put another plug at the bottom because we couldn't figure out where it went. I ended up running it up top. Put some grounds on where they're supposed to go, routed the sandwich plate, as you guys, I believe, saw in the first vlog. If not, I'll show you in a minute, but that's gonna be coming across and over here and then into the feed for the turbo. Like I said, you know, it's not a step-by-step, but it's our first time. Bear with us if you see something that you might not like, or
If you see something that you might not like, don't care.
But yeah, like I said, this is our first time. I think I've said it like on Instagram and stuff. If we were to do this again, I think it would be done in probably 3 days. We just have had a lot happen.
I feel like 3 days.
My appendix
could be a
happened.
stretch, but
Our schedules don't line up. We got a solid like 5 days straight of rain. What was some other stuff?
just work.
Oh, we had to wait on the injector pigtails as well, and those took like another week to come in. And then waiting on parts and stuff. We got a water pump front. It didn't match up. Had to order another water pump. That finally came in. So it's just been
And
kind of like a...
AutoZone trips. We got all new gaskets, belts.
They saw that. They watched
Pump.
the first one, I think.
I know,
or maybe it
sometimes-
might be in this
It
video.
might
I
be
don't know.
yeah, I don't know. But I mean, if you really do think about it, I think we're finna be back outside soon.
We are back with...
Yeah,
We
dude.
are back.
Fucking octane and fucking zip.
Well, listen. Where we ended up the other day, we put the intake on, and we're starting to mount a couple things out. We came up this morning. It was a little bit rainy, so I didn't film too much, but it was also kind of like the lame stuff, just plugging things up. So we ended up tightening up the turbo. The reason that the feed is off is because I'm going to prime the turbo, put oil inside of it, and then we had to figure out how to run all of the intercooler piping. So comes all the way around. Got those two down there and then mounted up on the front mount. So we still have to tighten these up, but radiator is in, fan is in. We ran into a little bit of an issue to where it's like just hitting on the intercooler piping right there, coming out of the actual compressor, but I think we're just gonna trim a little bit on the fans. I tried to get it over as much as I could, but even if I make the compressor, you know, left or right, I can't make it any more left, especially with how hard it would be to unbolt the compressor housing, or at least loosen them all so I could turn it. On top of that, I don't know, I think it's just easy enough to just take, you know, a slight little bit on the outside. So it is 4 o'clock, and we kind of been at it all day, honestly. So I think we're gonna grab some fluids. We're gonna go grab some cheap oil, so we can use just a startup oil, let it run through and stuff, and then we can drain it, make sure there's, you know, nothing in the pan, nothing in the system and stuff. And then from there we have other oil that we'll put in. I do have a couple connections that I am not sure where they go to. I just have a feeling that they go underneath the intake, so I guess if it doesn't start or makes like,
Let's hope it starts.
I don't know. So we'll figure out where these have to go. If these have to be pushed underneath the intake and go to the bottom somewhere, we can do that. But I went under there with a flashlight. I could find no more plugs on the bottom, so I guess we're just gonna leave it as it is for right now. Most of the vacuum lines, actually all of them, should be plugged in the rear. Hopefully I don't have any mixed up, but we can figure that out when the time comes. And then of course, this is just for the overflow. This vacuum line will go to the blow-off valve, the tile blow-off valve, and then we also do have to put on the wastegate and dump on the back of the turbo. But we can do first start without doing that. So I think we're gonna run to the gas station and not the gas station, run to...
We should also hit it. We can get a Polar Pop.
Maybe we might hit the gas station real quick, but yeah, we're gonna go grab that stuff real quick. We'll catch up with you guys in a couple. If it ends up getting dark, I guess we'll end up just getting the spotlight out. We kind of just want to at least get first start. Hopefully it just starts up and idles, and then, you know, if there's any connections and stuff that I have to look up and try to really figure out if they're necessary, we can do that. But at least for the most part, everything else is all tightened up. So I don't know. I think I'm just prolonging it because it's like that nervous.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
You know, it's just one of those to where it's like, ah, you're so close, and then it's like, but I could just wait till tomorrow when it's like sunny out and I get started up. But
we got work.
yeah,
Work schedule.
we got to do that with Christmas coming around. So
Is it recording or is it?
Brandon.
Cinematics in this video.
First start prep.
Okay.
I put some oil already inside of the turbo just to get it like
Tell 'em.
pre-lubricated,
Tell 'em,
and
tell
then
'em.
now I'm just about to, after we fill this up, we're gonna put oil in the engine. It's already got all of the assembly lube and stuff when we put all the cams and stuff back in, which I think we talked about in vlog 1. And so we're just gonna try and start it. There's a couple plugs like I showed you earlier that we don't know where it goes. So as long as it starts and stuff, we can figure that out later, and I could try to look up some part numbers.
Thanks for checking back in, guys. You already know what's going on. We about to start the whip. You know it. Just pour the oil, pin the booster on. Stop playing with the kid right now.
And I don't know if I explained it. I took the EFI fuse out just so that we can crank it a couple times, get some oil pressure going, and then
Take notes. Take
and
notes.
then we'll throw it back in. So.
Yes, sir. That bitch is on. Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Nah, that's the Oh, fuck yeah.
Alright, let's
Let it heat up, let it heat up. Oh yeah. Stop playing with the kids.
And of course, you guys saw first start. It is getting dark and late, and the rents just came home with some groceries, so that's what we've been doing. But
Rent?
I think it's gonna be about time for us to wrap it up. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's been, I don't know, I didn't want to do like a whole how-to. I've got something planned here in the future that we might hit the NAT, and I can go in depth with, you know, maybe like a whole build breakdown. But yeah, I mean, this was just basic stuff. This part of the video was getting everything else on, since we got the head, valve covers, and all that stuff. Of course, the intake is a pain just because it is the stock intake and has to go over everything. If you get a front-facing intake, I believe you have to delete the EGR, the canister, as well as the block-off plate and some other stuff that's in the back. But, you know, maybe on the next build we'll go in depth on that. But either way, the engine is now boosted. She turns on and runs. You got any words?
She starts.
He's more hyped than he seems.
I am more hyped than I seem. I don't know what to like. It's been a good process. It's been a long process.
been a long
learning
process.
process. Been a
But
learning process.
for anybody doing this realistically, if you're in your garage, I'd probably say give yourself 2 weeks. You could probably do it in a week unless you're pulling the engine.
Blood?
If you're pulling the engine,
blood, sweat, and tears. Right there.
if you're pulling the engine, it might make it a lot easier just to kind of access everything, but then you got to put the engine in and make sure with the mounts and, you know, the whole jazz. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. First start was successful, so now it's finally going to be on to bolting up some of the exhaust stuff, figuring out the wastegate, making sure that the blow-off valve has vacuum, and, you know, just because we got it rigged up right now. And next video, we're going to probably bolt most of that stuff up, go for a drive, you know, get the whole 9 yards, maybe throw the fender, bumpers, all that stuff back in, cool cinematics and whatever. But appreciate you guys staying tuned for this video. It was a blast. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.